So in the past several weeks, Keon Coleman has been the butt of everyone's jokes on NFL Twitter. Cam Newton's video on 4th and 1 went crazy viral, and it spawned many of memes, a lot of which have been very much hilarious. And it's led to a very stark shift in how people feel about Keon Coleman and his future in Buffalo. And in today's video, we're going to talk about it. You listen to Jim Dropper Sports. Let's get it. So Keon Coleman was suspended for weeks 11 and 12 due to disciplinary actions for being late to a team meeting on Friday. This was his second offense of the season, which resulted in him being a healthy scratch. And like I said, I think we all can agree that that's unacceptable at any level. It's unacceptable to be late to the one thing that you're here to do. You are paid millions of dollars to play this game. You're not, this is different than college where you're a student athlete, right? And you have other responsibilities aside from just your sport. You're in the NFL to only play this game. So it is required of you, and it's to be expected of you to show up on time. That's for anyone at any job, any profession. It is expected of you to show up to your job on time. That's the bare minimum. So now that we got that out of the way, I want to try to try to humanize Keon Coleman a bit because of the jokes and because of the videos and the memes. I think people have kind of lost sight that these guys are still human. No matter how much money's being made, no matter what type of scenario you think they should be in because of what they've gotten, because of their talent, you still have to remember these guys are still human. They're still dealing with a lot of things. I don't believe Keon Coleman is incapable of playing high level football. I believe Keon Coleman's in a situation where it just doesn't fit. It just doesn't work. And I think the more and more time goes by, we're going to see these things materialize. One thing that happens when you get drafted to a team like Buffalo, who's been in the championship hunt for several years now. They have a quarterback that's the reigning NFL MVP, a head coach that is one of the best in the game, and a front office that is trying to do any and everything to bring talent in to help this team elevate. You, as a young guy, don't get the grace that you would get in many other situations. Like in Cam Newton's clip, the infamous clip now, he says, quote, "We give that grace to young players." And while Keon Coleman is very much a young player that is still growing and still figuring out his way to, in this professional game, he's not being treated as every other young player that got drafted before him, right? For example, if I look at Xavier Legette, I think Xavier Legette is like, because of their situation and how they're playing, it very much is comparable. Where Xavier Legette hasn't played the greatest, but also the expectations of that team haven't been the highest. So we're not expecting the Carolina Panthers to be in a championship scenario, playoff scenario on a consistent basis, even though we are. And it changes how these guys get treated. It changes how the media treats them. It changes how, the expectation level for these guys each and every week. Now, does he still need to produce? Absolutely. But the pressure isn't on him 24/7. When you're playing with a Josh Allen, who's one of the best in the league, and this will go for every other elite quarterback. So this will go for Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, Patrick Mahomes, Matthew Stafford. When you play with those types of quarterbacks, you don't get the same graces as other rookies in other areas. You were the second round pick, of course, because Buffalo didn't have a first round pick. You were the first pick of Buffalo's draft in 2024. You are expected to contribute. They drafted you after losing Stephon Diggs. You are expected to help elevate this team, right? And when that doesn't happen, you don't get the same grace. Like if, for example, if Keon Coleman were to be in Tennessee right now, I believe Keon Coleman will be playing better football, and I believe we wouldn't have nearly the distractions off the field that we're having with them right now. And it's not that I'm saying Cam Ward is a better quarterback than Josh Allen, because that would be absolutely preposterous to say, right? It's that the situation is much more comfortable. It's a much more comfortable situation. It's less pressure on the kid. It allows him to just be himself and be the guy that he is and go out there and play ball freely. There are no expectations to win. If losing's to be expected, So that, everything's kind of cool. You get to go out there and go perform, and you get to go out there and go perform for a franchise that doesn't have those types of aspirations just yet. When you talk about Josh Allen, I mean, yeah, obviously we know that he's the reigning NFL MVP, but it's also a matter of maybe this isn't a culture fit either. Because when I look at Keon Coleman and I look at how he is, I don't think anything's wrong with Keon Coleman. I don't think anything was wrong with his opening presser once he got drafted. I don't believe anything's wrong with his personality in general. It's just not suitable for this team because this team is in a pressure cooker type of scenario. They have to go in. In a year where Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, and Patrick Mahomes are all likely not to make the playoffs, you have to go in. There is no better chance to go do this. And so because everyone else is feeling the pressure in that building, they don't have the time for a youngster that doesn't also bring that serious business-like mentality each and every day to work. And, there are a myriad of things this could also be. I think this is also a matter of, brother, nobody wants to be in Buffalo. If you really want to boil it down to a point, you tell me, right? What player has ever gone to Buffalo that was in their prime at the peak of their powers? Tell me the player that decided, I want to go to Buffalo to play my prime years of football. Josh Allen got drafted there. Stephon Diggs got traded there. These players don't go to this team, on their own free will. And for a guy that played at Michigan State, coming out of Louisiana, and you didn't, and somebody would have to fact check me on this. I don't recall ever hearing Keon Coleman's name as one of the top underclassmen in the game in college football while he was at Michigan State. Never heard of him, never saw him. And obviously Michigan State wasn't the greatest while he was there. So that would have a lot to do with that, but you just never heard anything of him. I didn't know anything about him until he went to Florida State. Now he goes to Florida State, has a great year, pops off, and now everything changes. I believe this just isn't the scenario for him. It just isn't. I mean, and guys, you miss on guys all the time, and there are other things that I also think as well. Like Josh Allen, I think certain quarterbacks lead in different ways, right? And I can't put any of this on Josh Allen as if to say that he doesn't lead, and that he isn't a leader, but I don't know if he has the greatest relationship with the rest of his teammates. Like, and when I say not a great relationship, not that they don't get along, but just not like these guys may not all be chummy once practice is over with. Like, how much time is put in after practice? How much time do they spend just with each other at each other's houses? How is that relationship? Because for all of the great quarterbacks and receiver combos, you'll typically see a bond there that exists that is beyond football. Like it's families spend holidays with each other. It's real genuine friendship that coincides with elite on-field play. And even with him and Stephon Diggs, these two guys live two totally separate lives. Like they paled in comparison to each other. And I think you saw on-field production for sure, but you didn't. But we always had an inkling of off the field. It was always a weird energy there between those two. And I think the same could probably be said for him and Keon Coleman. And Keon Coleman doesn't have nearly the cachet to be able to voice whether there's any real issues or not, because he is a younger player. But I also think that plays a part into how guys acclimate to their systems. You know what I'm saying? I look at, for example, Tedero McMillan and Bryce Young. Both of these guys being from California, both of these guys knowing of each other, having worked out together prior to. You see the connection they have in T-Mac's first year. He's looking like the offensive rookie of the year off top, and you see that connection. You see those guys continue to grow with each other each and every week. And also, these are two guys that are similar in age range as well, which does play a factor into the type of relationship certain players can have. I just believe that this Keon Coleman situation is one where I believe he'll be much better once he goes to his next team. There isn't a world now where I believe Keon Coleman plays a down of football in his third season with the Buffalo Bills outside of the preseason. I think outside of the preseason, I think you can see him get cut. You can see him get traded somewhere within those early months of next preseason. And I truly believe the next destination for him, he will be successful. He will have that success that we want, that people wanted him to have in Buffalo. But it's going to be because the situation is going to be more conducive to him personally being able to flourish. That's my mindset on it. And this is all projection by me. There's no facts other than why he was suspended and his overall production to this point. Those are the only facts of the matter that we have. But these are just merely my thoughts. And I would love to know what you guys think in the comment section. Like and subscribe to the channel. I'm your host, Shanti Stewart, and I'm out.